One, Sandy has asked that I let people know if we get more crowded than we are now, or if people are uncomfortable standing, that we do have TVs in the adjoining room for overflow if people would prefer to be in there and have the opportunity to sit down. Secondly, obviously, we have some difficult times in front of us right now, and I ask that everybody pray that we get through this. And one of the things that we're going to do today is I really obviously think we need to spend the time that is necessary to deal with the issue over the weekend. But in order to give it its due time without feeling the pressure of having to do other things, I want to get to the agenda quickly, which I think should take no more than 10 or 15 minutes. Moving through the agenda, item 1, we will, without objection, we will file and advise. Number 2, we will file. Number 3, we will urge passage. Number 4, we will urge passage. Number 5, we will urge passage. Number 6, we will indefinitely postpone.
Mr.
Monzel?
Chair? Yes. I'd like to talk about this if possible.
Absolutely.
Real quick.
You have the floor.
Okay. Thank you very much. This item is in regards to establishing the Mayor's Community Public Safety Forum, which I think is very important considering the recent events we've had lately. The Mayor's Community Public Safety Forum would develop and implement plans to improve police-community relations through the use of forums, workshops, and training. They would meet periodically, and if they would not have any investigative powers, nor would they have oversight over administration. The only power they would have would be to implement their own proposals, period. This is not a panel. This is not another oversight committee for the police. This is a forum consisting of police, government, businesses, and citizens to develop a model for community police relations. The recommendations that come from this forum would apply to police, businesses, citizens, and government. Each group would be accountable for carrying out the recommendations in the respective groups. This group would provide solutions to how police relate to citizens and how citizens relate to police. This group would receive input from the business community. We want solutions for these situations that have occurred recently, and we need something to attract these various organizations to come together to speak. I feel that the Mayor's Community Public Safety Forum is that opportunity, and I wish that it would be at least held for a week for further discussion and not indefinitely postponed. Thank you.
I do have one correction to make on number 2. I'd like to actually want to change that and hold it. And I'd like to ask the administration, I know Mr. Tarbell also concurs with this request, to look into alternative possibilities of funding for the Evanston Pilot Prosecution Program, which unfortunately we ran out of federal money for, but we feel strongly should continue. But we don't know where we're going to get the money. So if the administration could give us a report about options on that one, that would be greatly appreciated.
We're here to speak on item 6.
We don't have the, nobody's got, I never seen it. Number 7, we will file. Number 8, we will file. Number 9, we will disapprove and file.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, Mr. DeWine.
I would like some discussion on 9 before we disapprove and file it. What is, we can do this another day, or we can do it today, whatever your pleasure is. But if we're going to do it today, what is the basis for disapproving and filing the report?
The basis is that 3 times in the past 30 years, this is based on a conversation I had with Ms. Dupuy, the law department has issued this opinion, and 3 times we, as a council, historically have disapproved that opinion and continued. The state has known about the fact that we license daycare facilities in Cincinnati. And I'd like to point out for everybody here that we have the highest daycare standards in the state of Ohio. And if anyone saw the wonderful reporting that the Cincinnati, but sad reporting that the Cincinnati Post did last week on the state of child care enforcement across the state daycare child enforcement, it is pathetic. And the state has consistently moved their standards closer to Cincinnati. The argument is that it's illegal, but the state has always known that we've done this. We've done it basically with the custom of their approval, and they have the authority to delegate this within some reign. And I think it's a good thing. I'm also have spoken to a number of state representatives, including Bill Seitz, a Republican from the West Side, and Steve Driehaus, who has been on this issue, as well as State Senator Mark Mallory. And they were of the unanimous opinion that and they have more familiarity with legislating on the Ohio Revised Code than I do, that given the piecemeal way that the Ohio Revised Code is put together, the fact that permissive authority was not included in the daycare enacting legislation does not mean that, as a general principle, the rights of home rule was denied in this case. In fact, Representative Bill Seitz was emphatic that, with the exception of liquor licenses, which was the one case that the law department really honed in on, that is an issue of federal constitutional law, that states have the exclusive authority on that. And other than that, I would say that without question, this is a legal argument that could go either way. And I think on balance, we are okay within Rule 11 to make the argument that this is permitted under state authority, considering it's been going on for 30 years. And I should just suspect, and as I made clear to Mr. Pui a week ago, that I feel that the law department should be advocating on our behalf, and 6 members of this council have voted consistently to keep this daycare program moving, and I think we should disapprove and file for those reasons.
So your position is that you think the law department ought to tell us what we think the law ought to be rather than what they think the law is?
No. My position is that the law department should advocate on behalf of the city of Cincinnati, and 6 members of this council want the daycare licensing program to be continued because it protects the welfare and safety of children. And I believe there is a good legal argument for that. I'm not interested in an abstract legal law school exam answer of whether or not, if you were the judge and jury of the Supreme Court of Ohio, what you would do if some hypothetical case came up.
Well, I'd certainly like the recorders to know. I think that you know, we may not like what the law is, but simply to say we're not going to follow the law because we don't like it in the face of the legal opinions that we have, and I have not seen any contrary legal opinion, I think is not good policy. So I'd like the recorders to know on that.
Okay, well, I'd like to respond to that and to say that I don't think that I don't think it's a clear-cut case of what the law is and telling what it is. I think that as the city of Cincinnati has done so for 30 years, to advocating in a certain direction is what we should be doing. And at the same time, I've also gotten an agreement from Representative Driehaus and others to make it more clear in the future so we don't have to deal with this issue. But anyway, I note your objection, and we'll move on. Thanks.
How many? Do we need a roll call vote on this? How many members of the committee, or how many people are?
Well, Mr. Tarbell was here a second ago. There we go. Roll call vote on disapproving and filing. Yeah.
Booth, Cramley, DeWine,
No.
Monzel,
No.
Tarbell.
Number 10, we will also disapprove and file. 11, we will urge.
I too would like to be, of course, a no on number 10.
Mr. Monzel, same with you?
Yes.
Okay. On number 10, DeWine and Mr. Monzel will be recorded as a no. Number 11, urge passage without objection. Mr. DeWine.
I still think we should allow some time for a public hearing before we increase the prices of taxi cabs. I mean, it's a pretty significant increase. It would make Cincinnati one of the top rate structures in the region, and I think we ought to give the people who ride the cabs a chance to come in and discuss it.
Mr. Chair,
Any other council members feel strongly on this issue?
I do.
We've not had a, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we've not had a public hearing as such.
I mean, I think it'd be a public hearing committee, but...
We've had this discussion now for, I don't know, Mr. Booth, a year.
More than a year, yeah.
And I think that we've provided, it has been in the public domain and the press, I think, for at least that long. And I think inherent in that is an opportunity for comment and criticism. So I feel that we've more than
Well,
adequately.
Mr. Chairman, just to be fair, Mr. Tarbell, it's been discussed raising it, but this report has only been out for 2 weeks. The fares that have been proposed by the administration have only been out for 2 weeks. While there may be some general level that some increase is necessary, whether or not we should make Cincinnati have the highest or second highest fares of any of the cities surveyed, I think probably deserves some public comment. And maybe that's the right thing to do, but I'd at least like people who ride cabs and who drive cabs be able to weigh in on that. There's been some cab drivers, in fact, who've told me that they are reluctant to raise the rates this much.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Cooper and then Ms. Booth.
I agree. Number one, I think when I looked at the report, the comparison did not make clear for the same distance what the price was currently and compared to what the proposed cost was. So in terms of just looking at apples and apples, you can't look at this report without working hard to see what it is. And I think when we're reporting something to the citizens, anything we present to them, the guy next door should be able to look at it and say, oh, my cab fare, if I go from here to there, is going to be X amount of dollars, and you can't tell that without working at it. I agree. I think we do deserve public hearing. If everybody who rides a taxi is going to be expected to be aware of this, they need to have at least had enough time to hear these fares. We have discussed it a long time. We have not had the proposal of the new cost for a long time, nor have they been clearly indicated for the public, in my opinion.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Booth.
Thank you. I agree this discussion has been had for some time, but I thought that there was inherent in the process time for public comment, even if we act on this today. And if that's not correct, then perhaps we should delay it. Is there? Because I know Cincinnati was significantly behind, and now we're saying that we're ahead a number of cities because it's been some time since we've had an increase. But I thought that there was an automatic period of time for public comment that would allow us adequate time for public input.
Mr. Johnstone has informed me that there is not.
There is not. Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Tarbell.
Mr. Booth, how about if we, can we do that next week? Can we have that set time aside next week as a public hearing? And then we have representatives from the industry here who have been on hold now with this for the better part of a year. And I think that we have other obligations too for that reason. So I think we need to have an clear understanding that we will have next week as an opportunity for comment, and then that would there shouldn't be any reason why we shouldn't be able to go up or down with this at council a week from Wednesday. Would that be correct?
Well, are you proposing that we put out a release for the opportunity for people to come to this committee next week and have their comment?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sherman, can we get public notices out for next week, even though it's a short timeline, to have the opportunity for public comment on the taxi cab issue for next? Yeah. Does that satisfy everyone?